Dane, how's your week,
Hey,
man?
it's been pretty good. Had a long weekend at the softball
Yeah.
diamonds all weekend, watching watching the daughters play, and it was a great weekend. Anytime you can spend with your kids is the best weekend. So that's what we got to
Precious,
do. How about
precious time.
yourself?
Same, man. Congrats. We were both made it. Your team and mine made it to the semis, which is
Yeah,
fantastic. Shout out to your girls, man, going all the way to the championship game, man. I'm proud of
yeah,
your chaos team, man. That's fantastic.
yeah, yeah. Came up a little short, but we're proud of them. They moved up in age,
Hmm.
and they held their own. So it was a great weekend. So,
Good,
and
man.
we're excited to start this week as well. So.
This week's huge, man. So a lot of times we'll do it at the end, but I'm excited to get to the content. So this week we've got a big week. We have some surprises tomorrow night. The voice of OU softball, Mr. Chris Plank, needs no introduction. There at every game. He's a Fox Sports analyst, has his own radio show with, does Fox Sports and college stuff. The voice of softball, works with the football program too, and probably one of the best Sooner fans outside of you and me that we know. No, he's awesome. And then we have Wednesday, we've got a couple artists stopping by. We've got our buddy Aslan, who works with Laney Wilson, stopping by. Marquez, y'all know him from his days at K-State. Awesome guy. And then he has his own basketball academy now. Really cool. Thursday, Dane, big one. We've got Glenn Davis from ESPN. Of course, the Dynamo is amazing. And then we have
Yep.
Cheyenne Factor on after our guest tonight. And this weekend, we end with Brodarius stopping by from the USFL, the Michigan Panthers team. So it's crazy. But
Yeah.
Dane, this week, there's a fan favorite. We've been talking about this for a long, long time. There's a gentleman who we have admired and just watched for forever. The one and only Mr. Mark Dejaynes, who's actually on tour right now and working with Walker Hayes. So we're going to get right down to it. It's our privilege to bring on this living legend, Mr. Mark Dejaynes. How you doing, brother?
I'm good, man. Thank you all so much for having me.
Yeah, great to have you.
Mark, it's our privilege to have you on tonight. Like I said, I know you're off from some time on the road and every little bit of precious time you get with the family and all that. So thanks for sacrificing part of your evening for the fans and all that. Mark, what we do, Dana and I have got some questions that we're going to run past you, that the audience has cultivated over the years. And then we'll take a little time out to do a little fun segment called Rapid Fire. And towards the end, we'll give you some time to kind of preach your mantra to the audience. Does that sound good?
I love it. Let's do it.
Awesome. Dane, go ahead with question one.
Yeah, we've listened to your music, and I'm becoming a new fan. Josh turned me on to that, and I've been listening to it all day. When you're playing, when did all that start for you, and how long have you been playing and doing your craft? And has it always been the instrument, the bass you play now, or when did all that start for you in your life?
It started pretty young. Like, I was interested from a real young age, probably 5 or 6. My dad played guitar, my mom sang, my brother's a drummer. And so it's kind of, always in the house, but I didn't really get a bass and start really deciding this is something I wanted to do until I was probably 10 or 12. And even then I was 10 or 12. So I was like, I'd rather be outside, getting dirty, so it's probably in my high school days, somewhere around 15, 16, that I was like, this could be something really cool I could do later on into life, and kind of dug into it then. So
do you remember that first band that you were in? Was it part of just kind of a friends or church or something like that? Because a lot of our artists that we have come on, they started in their church. When did it all start for you, your first band?
Yeah, so actually my brother, he's five years older than I am, and he was away at a college outside of St. Louis, and there was a band in St. Louis at the time. This was 01, 02, dating myself a little bit. But they were, there's a band called The Outsiders, and they were, if you're from that area, you've probably heard of them. They're legendary in that area.
Yeah.
And they went on the tour nationally and do a bunch of stuff. Anyway, I was a huge fan. My brother and I both for years followed them. And then he had actually gotten a call to play some shows with them. And just so happened, there was a random show that their bass player couldn't make. And my brother was like, hey, my kid brother could do it. And I'm sure all their eyebrows were like, kid brother, what? Needless to say, they were kind of out of options, so they said yes. And so one of my first gigs in front of people was with one of my favorite bands. So
nice,
to say I was nervous was an understatement, but it was cool.
It's cool, the dynamic, Mark, of thinking about, because I know The Outsiders, and you're definitely not dating yourself. That's my generation of music, early 2000s, late 90s. Right, that got cut off from 37, 38. The good music, right?
Yeah,
I feel like
that's
those bands where I say it like this: anybody that made music or is making music like you guys came from a time when music was still alive, and now you're carrying it on. I love it,
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I definitely know them. I'm glad your first band was better. Mine was like, I imagine the scene from Diary of a Wimpy Kid with the loaded diaper guy. That's me, right? You know what I'm talking about? So I love it. So I'm glad you have more success than me. It's awesome. No, I'm happy for it, man. That's cool. So you obviously had multiple bands and all of that. So as Dane and I look through this, that's kind of the stories that we love to get into, man. Like, obviously we appreciate what you're doing with Walker and the gigs that you're doing now, but every artist we've had, whether it's the country guys or some of the more metal guys, there's always that, hey, this show I had, maybe it wasn't the stadium, maybe it was a coffee shop. We've had guys say before they made it. When you look at your career as a musician, is there a gig that stands out to you? And it could be a recent one, but what's the gig that you're like, that's the one that I'll never forget,
I mean, there's something to be said for all the years spent, grinding out in a van, like you said, maybe playing the coffee shops, whatever. Like, those will always like hold definitely a special place in my heart for other reasons. But if I was just like, somebody was like, name your top gig you've ever done, it was kind of a recent one. We got to headline Red Rocks about 3 weeks ago. And so I mean, that's anybody that does this, it's kind of like that's a bucket list, so that was hard to beat. And honestly though, like, I was talking to somebody the other day, catching up with a buddy, and just kind of filling them in on kind of what the last couple of years have been. And because everything happened with Walker so quick, there was like a 6-month span that like if I didn't have like a piece of paper in front of me, I'd be like, there's no way all that happened. Like, and that's not like a humble brag. It's just like, it blows my mind when I really sit down and think about it. And so, I mean, even leading up to that, I mean, we got to do, the Tonight Show, we got to do The Voice, like all these major award shows, all these things that I'm just like, I don't think it really happened, but I have pictures to prove it. So
no, man. And I love that. And I saw your photos, and that's actually when I first kind of like, I had been following you forever, but I saw the Red Rock thing and I was like, heck yeah, man. Like, that's another milestone, right? It's like that notch in your belt, which is cool. Dana and I talk about this too. I love what you do because you're part of a band. Like, it's not, I mean, I'm sure you do studio stuff too, but being a part of the band, think about like the U2s and the Metallicas of the 80s, right? The guys that have stuck together, and like, you guys have been brothers through it all. That's what's cool about what you're doing, is you go through the successes and the peaks and valleys together. And that's what makes a band a band. You guys are a band. I love that, so that's awesome. So
absolutely, man.
Red Rock's your gig. I saw that, and that's kudos to you, man. So well done.
Appreciate it, man. It's wild. I was supposed to actually open a show there a few years back. It was going into 2020, and then obviously COVID happened. So like, to have that kind of taken away, but then like being patient, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, you're actually going to headline it now. Like, so honestly,
awesome.
It kind of worked out.
Yeah, JK, we're gonna do one better. That's awesome, man.
Right.
Yeah. So now, whenever you go into things like that, do you kind of, with your success that you guys had and you've growing now, do you kind of look back and kind of think, man, I've come this far, this fast? And sometimes you go to that level and you start thinking, when all this started, here's what I was listening to. Here's the people that, that inspired me. And now I'm able to take my stamp and put it on that and expand on it. Some of those people that inspired you, can you tell us a few of those, some of the musicians or somebody in your life that kind of influenced you to write and play the way you do?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, obviously it started with family. Like I said, I grew up in a very musical family, and even just being a bass player, I had an uncle who he actually passed away when I was probably 5 or 6, but he was like the bass player in the family. And so I even have some of his equipment that was handed down to me. And so even from a young age, it was kind of just like always there. But then as I grew up and kind of started to get into stuff, like as far as like specific musicians, like when I was really young, it was, obviously like your Victor Wootens, and then Abraham Laboriel, like all these guys are just absolute legends, and I still love those guys. But as I got older and tried to make more of a career out of it, I kind of started to follow like guys like Nathan East or Pino Palladino, those guys that are, you look at their resume and they have worked with everyone. I mean, like from the top who's who, so those guys, as far as like bass players, are all on the, Mount Rushmore for me. And then probably the band that actually, like, I remember seeing them live and kind of like deciding in the lawn that night, like, this is something that I really want to chase. Like, I actually think this is a career that could be a possibility. I actually saw the Dave Matthews Band way back when. I mean, I've seen them multiple times, but during, like we were talking earlier, during our era of music, they were definitely not only one of the most popular bands, but they kind of bridged the gap of like popular music, but also guys that could actually play. You know what I mean? And so for me, it was like the perfect marriage of like, oh, I don't have to be embarrassed in telling my friends that I listen to this band, but also like they're all killer musicians, you know? So those were kind of the guys that really lit the fire under me of like, I want to do that someday. Not that I ever thought that it was actually going to happen, but like that was the inspiration for it for sure.
Yeah.
I think you're spot on. And Dane and I, we talk about music. And again, we are in that Tool, Primus generation, late 90s AIC type stuff. When I think of bass players, and that's what's cool about what you do, a lot of your stuff, like from Craig to obviously even AA, it's bass driven, right? There's bands that, not saying it's the only piece, but there's bands that are bass driven. I think about things like obviously Primus, Rob Trujillo, when he came along with and did the Saint Anger album. When you look at late 90s, I mean, dude, even some of your George Clinton, and you can go Parliament, a lot of these bands that are driven by bass. There are bands that are like, hey, that bass player is the one that, Flea, take a look at. Not taking away from the other epic musicians, but there is literally a craft to what you do. And I've always said from playing music for 20 years, still in coffee shops, by the way, but still playing music for 20 years. There's no harder instrument than the bass. For me, everything else but that. So what you do, there's a rhythm to it, and it's crazy. So, but man, when you think about all that, Mark, and I say all that, sorry to ramble. When your next year, I know you talked about studio work and whatnot. Obviously, the tour with Walker, I know just dropped a single. Are you doing some side stuff? Maybe some more writing of your own? What's the next 12 months look like for you as an artist?
Honestly, I mean, the last like 18, 20 months or so have just been so crazy. I haven't really gotten to do much else. But we're going to be off this fall, I think, at least, more so than we were last year. So I'm hoping to dive more into some studio stuff, doing some of that and pick up some other artist work here and there. I mean, I made my living in Nashville for 8 years by just playing for, 10, 12 different people at a time, just trying to pay the bills. And so like being with Walker's been great, but it's also taken away that like just the fun spontaneity of like so-and-so's gig is this week. So I'm trying this style of music or whatever it is. So I'm looking forward to maybe getting back out on the road and just doing some other stuff. But I mean, at the same time, like if we were busy this fall with Walker, that would be fine by me. I mean, that's home for me. That I love doing it. I'm with all my best friends and my brother's on that gig, and I've known Walker since I moved here. So I mean, it's playing other people's fun, but that for me is definitely the most fun.
Before I transition, Dane, into the rapid, is there local? Obviously, musicians like yourself, is it? People tell me this isn't really part of rapid fire, but Ryman, Grand Ole Opry, Bluebird, honestly, man, for you, because the musicians, right? You guys have that kind of inner circle. I swear there's like this code you guys have. There's a ring somewhere or something you guys wear. It's like a secret handshake. But what's the if you had to pick one of those local venues, what would be the creme de la creme for you, in Nashville?
I mean, again, man, like this sounds just like, oh, look at me. Like it blows my mind when I say it out loud. I've actually gotten to do all of them that you just listed. And so we just played Ascend, which is the amphitheater here. We just played that headline there last Friday night. But honestly, though, out of all the venues in Nashville, we did a show, I guess it was last spring, we did at the Ryman, and it was sold out. And just to see Walker and his story, I mean, we used to play restaurants for no one and literally get paid in like sweet potato fries, and then to see the Ryman sold out and people going nuts for him and kind of ride shotgun for that trip has been awesome.
Cool.
So
man.
I mean, that one, playing the Ryman, will always definitely probably be the hardest one to beat for me in Nashville.
Nice, man. I love it. We take a minute because that's you guys have always had this pay it forward mentality, which I love. And again, just getting to connect with you, man. As blessed as we are, and to be able to talk to you, you couldn't tell if people didn't, which everybody does, but if people didn't know what you do, you're so humble and chill. It makes people like you even more because you're so laid back and just in it, right? You're not. Even though you're there, it's like, oh, we just want to talk to you more. So we're gonna have some fun. We're gonna turn this to a fun segment. We do something that's called rapid fire. Now this always cracks everybody up. The audience loves it, and we can't ever get away from it. It's just part of our show. And what this is, Dane and I make bets, Walker, or Dane and I make bets, Mark, on the entire thing. And what we do is we'll pick 5 questions, rando questions, and you have to pick one or the other. Even though they're hard, you can't hold back. You got to pick one, no matter how hard it is. Okay.
All right, I got
Dane and I bet. So far, Dane owes me lunch. I'll take some sweet potato fries. Dane, actually, it sounds good.
So I'm counting on you, Mark, to pull me out of this.
I got you, man. I got you. Just wink at me if I'm starting to say the wrong thing.
so Mark, these are ones that we pick intentionally. Now, this is a disclaimer. This is all fun. We love everybody. There's no like hidden stuff, but just for fun. Okay, so here we go. Question 1, have to pick one. Who's the all-time, in your opinion, better boxer, Ali or Tyson?
Oh my gosh. I got to go Tyson, man. Like back in the day, I would not want to be standing across from that dude. I mean, he was just wrecking people.
Yeah.
I'm keeping my Dane. I got that one right because from
Yeah.
your generational gap, I knew I had you on that one. So, Dane, would you pick?
I had Tyson.
Okay.
Man. He's tough. Like, it's for the same reason Mark said.
Okay.
I mean, you don't want to stand in front of that. Not in his prime.
Yep. These are all legend questions, so get ready, man. These are all going to be tough.
Right.
So next one. Now you and the boys are getting done with the tour, taking a day off, maybe going fishing or something. Going on a road trip. You got to pick one of these two artists to play in the car on the road trip. Are you going with Alan Jackson or George Strait?
Oh man, I got to go George Strait, the king, man. I mean, you would just, no matter how long your road trip is, it's number ones after number ones the whole way.
Yeah.
Dang. Okay. I'm 1-1, Dane. How about you? I'm 1-1.
I took the lead on that.
You did? Okay.
There we go.
Dane. Okay. So Dane, you're ahead of me for one. Okay. Next question. On the path of legends. Okay. Who's more of a legend? This is a big one. Who's more of a legend? Leonardo from the Ninja Turtles or Optimus Prime from the Transformers?
Oh man, our guitar player Nick's gonna hate me, but I got to say Leonardo. He's the biggest Transformers fan of all time.
I love it. I love it.
I grew up on the Turtles, man.
Yep. Thank you. All right, Dane, what'd you have?
I had the Transformer. It's hard to go against Optimus. That's all right. Both great choices, though.
Yeah, I'm 2-1. All right, so we're tied, Dane. Here we go. Okay, so next question. Here we go. Who's the better legend? More of a BA kid show. Are we going with Undertaker or Ultimate Warrior?
Oh man, Undertaker. I mean, that dude is still doing it until just recently.
Yeah.
Man. Okay, Dane. I'm 2-2. What'd you have, Dane?
Yeah, I had the Warrior as well.
You did. So okay. So this comes down to the last question. This a little easier one for you. What faction is more enjoyable to watch, pro or college sports?
Man, I actually never went to college anywhere. I just jumped right into playing music. So I've always been a pro guy. Honestly, just because I didn't have a team to root for. It was like,
Okay, dang. Well, I got that one. I'm proud to say I got it wrong. So, Dane, did you have pro, Dane?
Yeah, I had pro. 3 for 5 here.
Yeah, I let that.
Even up that one score.
So Dane, I will pay you in my vouchers to Taco Bell. I got you. So one of our sponsors. No, I saw your shirt, man, too, by the way. I knew that you were somewhat of a Cubs fan. That's the only part that I almost had to blur out because I'm a diehard Cardinals fan. So I'm just kidding. We love you, man.
It's all good.
But yeah, it's all good. But yeah, Dana, thank you for that. This little segment that we do, Mark, just kind of a fun little, rapid, silly segment. So Dana, I'll give it back to you for that last segment, man.
Sure. On this segment, Mark, we call it open mic. We kind of open the floor up to our guests to, let them talk about a little bit of the philosophies or maybe a mantra they've carried through the years to, inspire them, to get them back on track, pick them up, carry them through whatever they're doing, hard times or great times. Is there a couple of things that kind of helped you along the way that have helped keep you going and doing what you do at such a high level in life?
Yeah, absolutely, man. I mean, I don't want to turn this into a direction all about religion, but I mean, it definitely has been all about, my faith, man. I just feel like anything I've done, whether it's been music or anything that's happened, I just feel like it's been a part of God's will. And I just kind of lean into that, even if sometimes it doesn't seem to make sense to me, even just the current stuff with Walker. I mean, I couldn't have made that happen in a million years if I'd tried. I mean, there's just too many things that worked out from the fact that, I met Walker 5 days after I moved to Nashville 10 years ago. We worked together for a couple of years, and then we didn't work together for about 6-7 years. And then to have an opportunity to come back before anything had blown up, and 2 weeks later, all of our lives changed, So, I mean, I couldn't have timed that out myself. There's just no way. And then my brother ended up on the gig shortly thereafter. And one of my best friends ended up on the gig as a guitar player. I mean, it's just one thing after another was like, I did not make this happen. That's for sure. So if nothing else, man, it's just like leaning into that and knowing that there's bigger things at work and, just trying to trust in that. But, as far as just on a practical level of like, being a musician and all that, I mean, for me, I've just always kind of A, try to be easy to work with, and then B, I've tried to just always say yes. If it's not going to like physically harm me, like I've just said yes, because someone told me that very early on. You never know what could lead to what. And I've had so many cool things happen from a yes, 5-6 years ago that I didn't know was going to come to fruition later. So, just showing up prepared and being easy to work with and, just trusting the process for sure.
I will tell you this, Mark. I appreciate you. There's no need to worry about. We respect you. We know you're a man of faith. We love that about you. My actual favorite song, and I love everything you guys do. I love Craig's my favorite song by you guys. I love it, and that's the
Yeah.
whole pay. That's the whole pay it forward message, right? I love it,
Yeah.
and it's like it's raw. It's like, hey, we're real people, and it's neat how there's this. I love this generation of musicians because it's like, hey, have a song like Craig, and then a song like AA, which is real. Hey, we're trying to get through this. We're trying to get through life together, and use something to help get us through it. You know, like, hey, help, like we're leaning to higher power, higher strength, but also we're being real at the same time.
Yeah.
That's the kind of people you want to look up to. Is, hey, we're not going to fake it and act like it's all sunshine and and unicorns. It's real life, right? And you guys are doing it.
Definitely.
So that I love that, man. I love that the fact that you are so passionate about that. A lot of our artists, Dane and I think about guys like Yogi from Demon Hunter, Disciple we've had on, right? These guys that we've had on that they stand behind what they believe and they don't run from it. We love that, and they're successful because they're genuine. And Mark, you're a real genuine guy, and we love that about you, man, for real.
I appreciate that, man.
So I mean, Dane, do you have anything to follow up on that? Because Mark said it well.
I was just going to ask with how you guys have kind of started climbing and playing these bigger venues and going to like you say, traveling around and doing, I mean, anything that you want. Pretty much, you almost can call your own shots. What is the biggest, I guess, culture shock that you would say there is with playing a smaller venue to now, okay, everybody's pulling you in different directions. We want you to be here, here, here in big venues. What is some of the culture shock that you've had to go to, okay, I need to ask 10 people before I get a yes, to I have to tell 9 other people of the 10 no?
Sure. I mean, I think for me, I think this is what you're asking, but like for me, it was just the growth itself. I mean, like I said, I went for over a decade of literally playing in vans to small venues and whatever, to even when I got on with Walker, we had a team of, I think, like 12 people. And then overnight it went to a team of almost 40, and multiple buses and trucks. And it's just waking up every day and being like, oh, like, I don't even know if I know that person's name that's now working here or whatever. And then just with that comes a lot of growing pains. None of us had ever done it at this level. So just a lot of just patience with each other. I mean, we're super lucky to have great people on our team. So, I mean, we have it easy compared to most, but, it definitely has just been, a culture shock. I don't know if that's what you're getting at, but just exactly. Experience the growth itself, it's amazing. Don't get me wrong, but it's also a little bit intimidating at times.
I think that's a great way of putting it. And Mark, I keep going back to this. What's cool about it, and again, much respect to every one of the guests we've had. We've had hundreds. I don't think I've ever heard one of our guests, Dane, mention their roadies. Have you, Dane? That's awesome. That's awesome to me. That's cool. That just shows the kind of guy you are, man. That you pay attention to the little things, and that's why people love you, man. I'm telling you, I think that's part of. I do believe that things work in motion, and you're such good people, and you have such good kind of presence about you. Who couldn't like what you're doing, man? It's fantastic. Shout out to your roadies. That's cool, man. I love that about you.
Yeah, man. I mean, it all honestly comes from Walker, the top down. I mean, that guy is one of the most genuine people. It's one of the hardest things ever, is to because he's very polarizing. You got people that are like, it was so viral and so crazy. You got your haters, of course. And so when I see that, it's really frustrating. Because if you sat down with the guy for 5 minutes, you would feel so bad for everything you said. He's just the best dude. And honestly, we just want to represent that because we know that's who he is. And seriously, our roadies, down to
that's cool.
Literally people that I don't even know on his team, but I know of them, are just the best people. We're cool, super lucky.
Well, we feel it's very lucky to speak to you, man. Again, Dane and I have always said our facet for athletes and musicians, we really genuinely like to talk to the musicians. That's something that appeals to us from the playing days, and just that's what I feel like makes the music world go round, is musicians like yourself. It really is. I do hope. I know you said you have some time at some point in the studio. I would like to put my petition out now for a dream track. I'd like you to make this happen since you got some pull now. I'd like to have you on the bass. I'd like to see Carter Buford on drums. I'd like to see Kenny G on the saxophone. Just write this down. And then I'd like to see you have Dave Matthews sing for you guys. Have this little super group, okay? I even got some names for you. I got you. I'll help you out. You could call it
you'll be the first to know if that happens.
You, Kenny G, Carter, and Dave Matthews need to make it happen. Dude, okay, so
my head would just be in a million pieces.
You know what I'm saying? It could be like the reunion tour and all that. And I'm just kidding, man. So I am so excited. Dane and I, honestly, Mark, we owe you, man. We appreciate what you've done, being so gracious with your time It's awesome, man. So,
man, this has been an honor. Seriously, I've gone back and listened to a bunch of the episodes. Like once we kind of started talking, like I should probably, you know, research this a little bit. You guys are doing some really cool stuff.
Thanks, man.
Even hearing
your
guests coming up this week, it's like, and you all want to talk to me. Like I don't understand. So,
oh man. Well, Mark, no, we appreciate what you do, man. Like I said, in all seriousness, you're one of the as we say, one of the hardest workers in showbiz. We appreciate all that you do. Hopefully, I've seen you play a couple times at different spots, and I can't wait till you guys swing back this way again. You guys were just at Intros not too long ago in Kansas, you know, so it's cool to see you. I was like, man,
shoot me a message when that happens. Yeah,
we will,
shoot me a message when that hames and get you all out to the show.
Oh man, that'd be awesome. We will definitely take up on that. I won't sing or nothing, Dane. So no, I'm kidding. No, but Mark, please let this be known. Dane and I always say this will be the first of many, hopefully for you. In the future, please come back on. We can talk about anything but the Cubs. No, I'm kidding.
Not much to talk about this year, brother.
No, I'm kidding, brother. So Mark, thank you again on behalf of the audience. It's been our pleasure, man. So
thank you for coming on.
Pleasure's all mine.
Man, we'll get you back tonight. Mark will be in touch soon, and you take care, and good luck on the road, and you stay safe, okay? We'll talk soon, brother.
Thanks, fellas.
Hey, best of luck.
See you, man. Take care, brother. Dan, I'm telling you, man, what I said about Mark, he's even cooler than you could expect, and then beyond, right? Just a legend.
Yeah.
What do you think of him, man? Just awesome, you know?
Like I always say, I mean, I started listening to him when you told me about them. Like you said, you mentioned probably my favorite song of theirs, AA. They're
it's real life.
Great band. Yeah, and like I say, I always become a new fan. Every time you tell me about somebody and I listen to them, as soon as you mention them, that let's try to get them on the show. Let's try to get Mark on the show. And you tell me, go listen to them, and you'll send me a playlist and I'll listen to it. And all day I have my headphones on, listening, just at work, jamming. And like I say, I become a fan of more and more widespread genres of music. So thank you for that.
I finally got you out of the Bee Gees. We finally got you out of the Bee Gees, man. With no shade, they're cool. They get down, but I got you in the 80s and 90s now, man. So we're moving along.
I'm moving right along. I might just reach the new millennium sometime this year.
There's this brand new group that came out in 2000s called Smash Mouth. I got you, man. No, I'm kidding.
All right.
So no, that was a great start to the week, man. Cool dude, man. I love that guy. So he said that, and he means it. They will have us out to the show. That's just the kind of people they are, man. So that's freaking awesome. Love this guy. So we'll definitely make sure he comes back on. Loved working with him. He's just very humble. He's just a hard worker, right? Just the hardest worker in the room, man. That's what he is, you know? So he was humbled. I'm like, when I started contacting him, he's like, you want to talk to me? Like, absolutely want to talk to you. We feel like you are a part of the band. And that's what I keep going back to, Dane. They're a band. It's not just some guy that just shows up, and that's cool. He's part of this band, right? And I think that's neat to see his success. And I don't know how people can ever be haters of someone who's put in the work and risen to the top and then are nice like that. He's definitely, not one of those guys out there that's too good to tie his own shoes. He just loves people, So
definitely.
I can't say enough, man. So, Dan, we got a big week ahead of us. And another one, speaking of just amazing content, we're going to get right down to it. We're going to take a little breather, and we're going to come back for the wow factor. Cheyenne factor is coming on after this. So, Dane, you know how we always say, thank you, Mark, again. Automatically returning guest, please, fan favorite. So don't forget that we love you. And as always, Dane.
Thank you for listening.